Okay, good morning everybody. The windows are washed. Just wiping off some of the rivulets of stuff coming down here. And we're just waiting for the people to get on the bus. It's 20 after 7 Atlantic time. And we are off to Peggy's Cove this morning for breakfast. Here we are leaving Halifax on our way to Peggy's Cove. This is the Armdale Rotary that we're coming up to here. And we're headed out to the St. Margaret's Bay area where Peggy's Cove is. So I'm just trying to figure out which lane I need to be in. Any of these two right lanes apparently will do. This is only the fourth time that I've been to Halifax. And I don't get here often enough to really remember everything clearly. But there are some things I remember, and the way to Peggy's Cove is pretty easy anyways. As we head up the hill here, on the left, in behind all these places, is a lake called Chocolate Lake. Wouldn't it be nice to have a lake of chocolate in your backyard? A lot of that has to do with the coloring of the earth around here. Even in Moncton, they often call the Petitcodiac River the Chocolate River just because of the color of the mud. It's like a rich milk chocolate color. So I'm just going to show you some views here as we head out towards Peggy's Cove. We're just approaching the turnoff to go out on the highway that heads to Peggy's Cove. A lot of the bodies of water you're going to see in some areas of this are lakes, like that body of water we just saw there is an inland lake, not part of the ocean. And these lakes would be freshwater lakes. So here's where we leave St. Margaret's Bay Road and head out on the scenic route, goes along the ocean shore to Peggy's Cove. Could also have gone straight ahead and taken the Highway 103, that heads south from Halifax. But this is the more scenic route. And we'll come back the other way. This on the left is not a lake. This is an inlet from the ocean. It's a very scenic drive, very maritime-y. Here we are, I believe we're just coming into the little community of West Dover, which is the last little community along the highway here before we get to Peggy's Cove. Quintessential maritime scenes here. The sea and the houses along the shoreline. A lot of the houses along there had lobster traps, and very obviously there were fishermen that lived there, so very much the east coast of Canada sort of quintessentially shown. Now here we're just approaching Peggy's Cove, and I'm not really quite sure what it is about the environment here that makes it look almost like the moon with little evergreen trees, but it's kind of like Sudbury, Ontario. But as the people on the bus pointed out, this looks like a good spot for blueberries, and apparently this is very true. So we're just arriving at Peggy's Cove. We'll drive through the village to get to where we're having breakfast. We breakfast at the Sou'wester restaurant, which is right beside the famous Peggy's Cove Lighthouse. Peggy's Cove, it has been suggested, was named after either one of two things. The romantic story is that there was a young girl named Peggy who was on board a ship that shipwrecked here, and she was the only survivor of the shipwreck. And people came from miles around to see Peggy of the Cove, and eventually the Cove became named after her. Um, it's also been suggested that the simpler way of naming it was just the fact that it's a small cove off of St. Margaret's Bay, and Peggy is the diminutive of Margaret that often gets used. So a small cove off of Margaret named Peggy. But I guess maybe the whole real reason is lost in time. There is a population year round of 35 in Peggy's Cove. There's an awful lot of houses for 35 people. I suspect some of them are empty. This on the left is the visitor center. You'll get a bit of a look at it as we come back out on our way out back to Halifax. This is going to be a fairly simple day for me because we come here for breakfast. We spend a few hours here. There's, picture taking of the lighthouse and the village and everything, and there's a gift shop in the restaurant. And then we drive back into the city. We do a driving tour, and then I'm done. Very picturesque fishing village here at Peggy's Cove. Of course, the main industry here now is tourism, but you do see that there are still fishermen. There's a lot of lobster traps, modern lobster traps at some of these houses. And there you get your first glimpse of the famous lighthouse at Peggy's Cove. It is apparently the most photographed lighthouse in the world, right here at Peggy's Cove. We'll see a few other lighthouses on this trip, most notably the lighthouse at Cape Spear in Newfoundland, which is the easternmost part of North America. Anyways, this is the Sou'wester restaurant on the left, and we're just going to pull into the bus parking here, which is protected by these horses. We're the first bus here this morning. This is a very, very busy place in tourist season. But this restaurant is actually open year-round. I'm not exactly sure who comes here in the wintertime to go to this restaurant. Maybe it's a nice place for all the people around to come when all the tourists have gone home, because it's probably not a very nice place in the wintertime here. I mean, it almost looks like Arctic tundra. Okay, so we're leaving now. We've been here, it's I think about 10 o'clock in the morning, if I remember correctly. And all the buses with the tourists from Halifax have started to show up. And we're going to head out. One of the things, though, that we need to do before we leave is we need to stop at the visitor center here. There is right across from it a memorial to the local fishermen here. And it's a sculpture sculpted into the wall of rock. It's by an artist who lives in town here by the name of William DeGarth. So we're going to stop at the visitor center, give everybody one last chance to use the washroom if they need to, because when we get back to Halifax, we're going directly into a 2.5-hour driving tour, and there won't be time to use the washroom before we start the tour. And it's about 45 minutes-ish back to Halifax from here, so we want to make sure everyone's comfortable. So we're going to give them the option to use the washroom there, and of course go over and take pictures of the monument. I'm not sure how well you're going to see it in this picture. It's off to the left, right before we turn into the visitor center. Look at all the people already so early in the morning, really, for tourists. People on holidays don't very often get up this early in the morning. Anyways, just here on the left is the fences around the house where William DeGarth is, and I've kind of trying to turn it so that you can see it there. I don't know, you probably didn't see it very well, but you can still see it there on the left. All those figures sculpted into the rock. Okay, so we've driven back into Halifax. We've been on our tour for a little while here. I'm not going to show you much of it right now because I'm going to actually do a driving tour video. But we're right along the harbor front. This is Lower Water Street that we're on, and we're just going to go by the historic properties, which is some of the old warehouse buildings on the waterfront that they have rebuilt into stores and restaurants and things. This is an active shipping port, Halifax. It is Canada's East Coast naval base, and it is also a business center for the East Coast. And tourism, of course, also ranks very high on the way that Haligonians, that is the people from Halifax, make their income. So we're just going up Citadel Hill. It's the highest point in Halifax. So I just thought I'd kind of put a little bit of this in as an overview of the city for you. Right here on the right, you can see the town clock. This was commissioned by Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, that is Queen Victoria's father, who was kind of banished to Canada for a number of years before he eventually had to return to England to marry a proper English wife. He spent 20 odd years with a French Catholic woman, and of course back in those days people in line to the British throne could not be married to a Catholic. And he liked everybody to be on time, so he commissioned that clock. Okay, so my day is done, basically, as far as the group goes. However, we do have to fuel the bus. So that's what I'm doing now. There's a petrol pass over in Dartmouth, and that's where I've been. I guess I better think about getting my toll ready too. Of course, my GPS wants to take me across the bridge I'm not allowed to go on. Mind you, if I switch it to the truck mode, it would switch to the other bridge. Maybe I'll do that. Anyways, so that is Halifax in a nutshell. There'll be two videos that come out of today. There will be a driving video, as in a driving tour, and of course the daily video for the trip out to Peggy's Cove and everything else. So thanks for watching, and have a good day.